Israel with its massively superior military could have ended quite quickly. My question for you, John, you're a military expert, is when you look at the way that Israel went after Hezbollah with that extraordinary pager attack that was unleashed on 3,000 members of Hezbollah.
No, Piers, you got to fix that, honey. That extraordinary pager attack actually hurt a lot of women and children who had the pagers. And then not only that, after that, the American government sanctioned corneal implants for those innocent victims. And the government, apparently the Lebanese government, acted like those victims did not matter. Okay, there are people who are still getting surgery today because of that. And for the person who says, well, the kids shouldn't, their parents are Hezbollah, well, terrorists. Y'all don't know what a terrorist is. You know why? Because I didn't know what a terrorist was, okay? I remember being, back in 2022, talking about Hamas, a terrorist, not knowing a single thing what was going on in Gaza, anything, being a dummy like a Brandon Tatum and just spitting out the talking points. The same talking points that get American soldiers into places they have no business being in, all right? All right.
If you've got the capability to do that through Mossad and your other agencies, there were only 25,000 Hamas terrorists, we believe, at the start of this war. Why could they not have deployed similar sophisticated technology in a way that did not involve the mass slaughter of so many civilians in a place where the population is 50% under 18?
Sure. I mean, not to say that experts are a good thing, but Mehdi has said he doesn't know much about military affairs, but he does talk about it a lot. So in your question, it's pretty easy to answer, is that it's a clear sign that Israel did disengage from Gaza. And the human intelligence that was required to pull off a historic pager operation against Hezbollah couldn't be replicated because Israel didn't have that level of intelligence in Gaza because it had disengaged and allowed Hamas to build this, what is a military challenge no military has faced in the history of really any war. And the fact that Hezbollah did let the civilians get out of southern Lebanon as the war began against them is a telling marker of why people can't understand what's going on in Gaza. Now, you didn't ask me the question of what Israel...
So he's already lying. The borders are closed. People can't get out of Gaza. He's going to do a bunch of talking, and I can't stand it. I'd rather watch Mehdi Hasan absolutely look at all the talking he's doing. I just rather watch Mehdi Hasan dismantle John Spencer. John Spencer's easily dismantleable too, by the way. I have debated John Spencer online, and it was very easy to drag him to the point where he blocked me.
Not deteriorated. So I don't understand what victory looks like other than what Smotrich has been saying, which is actually what it looks like is all the Palestinians gone. That Israel go in, clear them out, and they take over the land. Well, that, I'm afraid, whether you like it or not, John, is actually one of the definitions of a genocide, the expulsion of a people based on its ethnicity. Mehdi, your response.
So, yeah, a lot's been said there. Thank you for coming back to me. First of all, let me just deal with this credentials game that I know John and his friend Douglas Murray love to play these days about military, who knows more about this or that. John runs his mouth on a variety of topics. I've seen him talk about, in fact, just today he's talked about war crimes, international law, who's breaking international law. Last time I checked, John is not a lawyer. The International Criminal Court has indicted Netanyahu and Gallant for war crimes and crimes against humanity. The former Jewish president of the tribunals for Yugoslavia and Rwanda says Netanyahu should be indicted for war crimes and crimes against humanity. So let's just, we're going to play the expert game. John's not an expert on genocide. The actual genocide experts, the president of the International Association of Genocide Scholars says Gaza is a genocide. The leading Israeli scholars of the Holocaust, Omer Bartov at Brown, Amos Goldberg at Hebrew University, say Gaza is a genocide. John's not an expert on targeting terrorists. The guy who led the attack on ISIS, the American Master Sergeant Wes Bryant, has said John doesn't know what he's talking about. So let's not play this credentials game because John will lose, just like Douglas did on the Rogan Morgan show. Let's talk about substance. John said a year ago, we're close to winning. He talked about not being allowed into Rafah. Rafah has been destroyed. Have you looked at any pictures recently? It's flattened. You don't need to go there with the IDF to see that they flattened Rafah. They flattened most of Gaza, and they still have not won, quote unquote. It's absurd to say that Israel was held back. Is this the new stab in the back? This is the new bullshit defense. The former Israeli ambassador to the United States said recently, thank God Joe Biden was president while this was going on. He gave us everything we wanted. He never asked us to stop. He never asked for a ceasefire. America gave Israel everything it wanted, and they went ahead and decided to, you talk about killing Hamas commanders. They dropped two 2,000-pound bombs on October the 31st, 2023, on the Jabalia refugee camp, killing over 100 people to kill one guy, Ibrahim Biari, who wasn't even there, a Hamas commander. They killed over 100 people with two 2,000-pound bombs, which incinerate everyone within 100 square feet and damage everyone within 1,000 square feet. That is
Let me tell you why.
Not targeted welfare. That is not proportionate. That is not legal. And we've seen that play out now over 20 months. And as you said at the start of the show, as I said, the dam is breaking. The Spanish prime minister has said Israel.
Okay, so let me tell you why real quick. Because somebody, I know I saw people in my comments saying like, Mehdi Hasan is still a problem because, he talks about, he's just a centrist Democrat or he talks about the divisive stuff in America. I know that. I know that. I do. And I also know, I don't know about centrist Democrat. I don't care. I have no labels for what I am. I think people need to stop taking themselves. I think people should take themselves out of labels because you're really missing out on some really important conversation that way. Mehdi Hasan is a brilliant debater, and nobody can deny that. Sorry. When it comes to Israel, when it comes to when it comes to racism and stuff like that, of course not. I could beat him on that. When it comes to Israel, he is brilliant. I saw somebody say, he said the wrong things about Putin. Of course he did. You can't expect 100% from people who they're using the example back on the person. We say basically, and they do believe in these things or whatever. Listen, he wouldn't have talked about Assad in a good way or whatever. That kind of makes me a little, iffy. But listen, I don't have a lot to work with. And even still, I won't even say that. When it comes to Israel, Mehdi is really good. He's not going to argue resistance, so I can use him for facts, things that Israel's doing to the Palestinians on the ground. I forgot about that two-ton bombs that was dropped on Jabalia early like that. He remembers all of that. I mean, the massacres are out of this world. It's something I've never. I don't even know what to say. It is every day. It's crazy.
Is a genocidal state. The Brits, the French, the Canadians that have backed everything Israel done. Britain continues to arm Israel and saying this is intolerable. Donald Trump, as you've said, Piers, wants this done, wants this over, isn't a fan of Netanyahu. Not that I have any trust in Trump to do the right thing. And I think the reality is, look, everyone can see with their own eyes. There's no justification ever for starving people. Since March the 2nd, to not allow baby formula and diapers in, only a sociopath would support that. And John's very smart, he's very eloquent, he comes on here, talks with stats, cites law. Back in Israel, the Israeli politicians and the Israeli journalists are saying openly genocidal things. They are saying everyone in Gaza is our enemy. They are saying we're to get rid of everyone from Gaza. They are saying Gazan babies are not innocent. That's what they say on Israeli television, if anyone bothers to watch.
Yeah, and actually, John, there was a piece in the Jewish News in the UK published yesterday, which was without a doubt the most critical piece I have read by a mainstream Jewish newspaper in this country ever. And it was very critical of the Israeli government and its strategy. So I think this idea that what they're doing, the government, has widespread support now from Israelis or Jewish people globally, I think is actually beginning to be proven wrong. I think there's a lot of uprisings now of people saying enough, because they can see there's no end game. No one really on the Israeli government side has explained what is going to happen when this war ends, or indeed what victory looks like. And I just don't understand it. I mean, look, you're a war expert. If you don't have a victory, what happens?
So you have continued war. So this is, I mean, there was a lot there that Mehdi talked about. And if you have to quote a master sergeant as your expert, as you're trying to say that I'm not an expert, or the other people that you list, while you're saying I'm not an expert,
He's the guy who
pick your own experts,
he's the guy who
including
literally led the
genocide.
effort to kill ISIS.
Yeah.
But okay.
Don't interrupt me. I didn't interrupt you, but you're not an expert. Fine. I'm not an expert. Fine. But history, the military tactics, you say, Piers, what does victory look like?
Yeah.
Exactly the standards. Every hostage brought home. Hamas not in power, both military or political power in Gaza. And there's something else. Now you have actual, great, quote, Israeli press. That's the beauty of a free press. People can say what they want and get it published. You have people voting with their feet in Gaza right now saying, Hamas, we don't want Hamas. What you have, what victory looks like. Now, I can tell you historically what it has ever looked like and what did it take to defeat another military. Take the Korean War. 2 million civilians died.
No. I don't do this. They're like, let's look at this other war to talk about this war. The only time I think I do that is with Dresden, because we didn't learn about Dresden in school, that like after we so-called won the World War II, that we like, I mean, just indiscriminately bombed Germany just because, to send them a message, I guess. I don't know. The Germans were bad. Oh, really? Okay, fine. Anyway, but yeah, so anyway, excuse me. I'm not going to edit that out. John Spencer has nothing else he can say. And I don't want him to say anything, especially with that nut-ass swoop that his wife keeps giving him before he comes on stage. Can they please just, like, take it off? Like, please. There's nothing else to say. I mean, how do you defend this stuff? So, yeah, I'm sorry. When I see Mehdi Hasan is debating somebody, I go right in and I listen, and, you know, because I know he's going to take them out because he has all the facts. It's nothing. It's so bad you have to go back to the Korean War. If you didn't hear this man bring up another war when he was making his points, remove all of the personal feelings about people. And look, my issue with John is not that he, like, oh, he blocked me, I feel some. It's like, really, what are you defending? What are you even defending? This is not a war. Bombing civilians is not a war. It's just not. And that's what they do. And because when they go in, I tell you, when they go mano a mano, they never can last. They don't last with Hezbollah. They don't last with Hamas. They don't. Anyway, I'll see you guys at the next one. Bye.